Okay, well, that's really weird.
We're ready to go.
Perfect.
All right,
Okay.
well, we'll call the meeting to order, and here at I guess 9:02. Thank everybody for joining the meeting today, and look forward to have a good session, good educational session here. So with that, I will turn it over to Secretary Romanski for welcome.
That's great. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for being part of this. There's a lot of familiar faces who are on. We got a couple new ones. We'll let introduce themselves here shortly. So for those who are joining for the first time, this council has been a really valuable way for us to communicate about trade updates and trade opportunities. Hopefully you'll find the updates valuable as we go through the course of the year. But it's really important that we get your input about our plan and how we're using the funding that we get to promote exports in Wisconsin. And I wanted to spend just a little bit of time about that. I mean, we'll have some data later to talk about where we are at for the first quarter this year. We'll leave that to Jacob because he's got the highlights. But just a quick reminder, the last 4 years have been the highest 4 years of agriculture, food, and forestry exports in our state. So we are, however you want to say it, trending in a good direction, punching above our weight class for our state and things of that nature. One of the, we were actually talking about this before the meeting started. I mean, we're fortunate in Wisconsin that we invest in opportunities to help our businesses find products abroad, because that's an important part for our ag economy, our ag industry, but it's also an important part of the role that our agency provides as a connector, as a resource. And we're able to do the things we're doing because some of the people who are coordinating this meeting today are Small But Mighty International Agribusiness Center team. You're going to hear from them throughout. But another reason that we are able to be the resource we are to our partners in the industry is because Governor Evers and the legislature have, over this last 4 years, provided funding to DATCAP to promote international ag exports for dairy, crops, and livestock, meat and livestock. And I want to make sure to emphasize that point. It's a really important investment, and we've been able to do some of the things we've been able to do in the international marketplace, doing trade missions, bringing people here, funding training for businesses that we otherwise might not have been able to do. So other states don't have that kind of resource available to them. We do. So we're very fortunate and appreciative. The other reason I wanted to bring that up is that happened as part of one of Governor Evers' prior budgets. This is that wonderful bipartisan success that I like to talk about, because the governor and the legislature agreed to provide this funding. And I bring it up now because, hey, everybody, it's the budget season. And the legislature is going to has already voted on some of the things that are in the DATCAP budget. And I think some of them will be up tomorrow. Really good timing for this meeting. It's completely happenstance, but not only has the governor proposed continuing funding for the Wisconsin International Ag Exports, Wisconsin Initiative on Ag Exports, but he's proposed increasing funding for that program, the program that our team runs. And so we are hopeful and optimistic that the successes that we've seen through the first few years of that program will continue to pay dividends down the line for Wisconsin businesses. And we're hopeful that when Joint Finance takes up the budget tomorrow, that they will look favorably on the governor's proposed increase in funding for this program. So I guess I'll kind of leave it there. I know a lot of people have been talking to our partners in the legislature about that, which we appreciate, because it's good for many voices to be heard about how valuable it can be to have, in this case, a state providing resources to the industry to find that market that might be really good for them and for their business and for the state's economy. So I'll stop there, and we'll learn a little bit more about where we're at in first quarter of this year, but I think I'll pause now, and I see Aaron has joined us, and
Very good. Thank you, and appreciate the update, appreciate the good work of all the DATCAP staff here too on making things roll, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Next item is for roll call, so Cassie, if I can throw it over to you for that.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
you just joined. That's okay.
Yes, WEDC, Aaron will maybe ask you for just a couple of quick words, also as from your end, if you would, please.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Apologies, Mr. Secretary, for being late. It's been
okay. I told everybody I was going to filibuster till you got on. So, mission accomplished.
I appreciate it. Unfortunately, Secretary Hughes wasn't able to join, but I'm happy to be with you. I'm excited to, always excited to meet with WAXC and to continue the ongoing partnership that we have going with DATCAP and WEDC on our trade missions and our international market access grant. As the Secretary said, I think one of the things that really makes Wisconsin unique. I say this a lot because a lot of states around the country are very dependent on federal grants and other things for trade missions, for some of the export related grants, and it's great that Wisconsin through the biennial budget process has resources that we're able to utilize for these things. It definitely, I think, puts Wisconsin at a real competitive advantage that way. So excited to continue to talk about what's coming ahead. I'm honestly excited to kind of get through that budgeting process and kind of know where things are and to be able to be full steam ahead. I know there's a lot of exciting trade missions coming up. I know there's the grant windows are going to be opening on our end. Excited to talk about that and to continue, like I said, continue working with the great folks at DATCAP and the great folks on WAXC on moving Wisconsin ag forward and just overall moving Wisconsin exports forward. So on behalf of Secretary Hughes and WEDC, thanks for being here, and look forward to talking more today.
Good, thank you, Aaron. Now, Cassie, I'll throw it over to you.
Perfect.
For roll call.
So if you could take yourself off mute just to let me know that you're here. We're working off of 2 screens, so I can't see everybody at the moment. But Amy Rundiz, Angela Weber, Bob Fitzgerald, Brandon Bickman. I know Chad Vincent is not here. Charles Watschmidt, Craig Breeze, Grant Holly.
Here.
Woohoo.
I answered
Jackie-
correctly.
What? You get a prize. You get to introduce yourself in a second. I do know Jackie Fett just emailed me and said she wouldn't be here. Jeff Schweger, Keith Hikes, Kevin Krentz,
Here.
Kevin Lips.
Here.
Kevin's here. I just didn't.
Okay. Perfect. Larry Kruger, Ryan Watcher. I definitely butchered that one. My apologies. Senator Jeff Smith, Representative Breanne Brown.
Here.
Representative Tony Krentz. Aaron Z. I wasn't gonna even try. And myself. Okay. And then everybody else would technically be a guest, so I'll just track that. So you don't need quorum for this meeting, but you did not reach it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Cassie. Next, we have confirmation of the WAXC appointments. So I will turn that over to the secretary again.
Yes, so again, because this is an interim meeting, we don't have to do any kind of formal confirmation. Everybody who's been appointed or reappointed is automatically on. And so I wanted to let everybody know that Brandon Bickham from DeLong Company has been reappointed. Chad Vincent for Dairy Farmers Wisconsin, who actually texted Keith and I beforehand saying he wasn't able to make it, is continuing. Amy Reduns from Purina Mills is continuing, and Kevin Krenz from Wisconsin Farm Bureau Federation are all reappointments and continuing. So thank you to them for that. And then newly appointed members include, and this is where they get to tell us a little bit about themselves. Grant Holly is a newly appointed member and taking over the remaining term of an open crop seat, and then he is filling that and then continuing. Grant's with Wisconsin Cranberry Association. Grant, maybe you want to give a quick introduction of yourself to the folks who are on today.
Hey, everybody. As Secretary Romanski said, I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association, which also includes the Cranberry Board, as well as the Education and Research Foundation. Juggling 3 boards, sure, not a problem. Very much enjoy and appreciate being on this committee. In my background, I've worked with international partnerships and creation at the academic, the industrial, as well as the nonprofit level. Set up 15 different partnerships from Turkey to Russia to China to Central America and the EU. And with the experience there, and I've now been part of Wisconsin for the past 4 years, I have been stunned at just the weight that Wisconsin has in the industrial in the international world. It's amazing. I never would have guessed that Wisconsin is as high as you are. With our smaller population, we're in the same realm as the Florida, California, Texas, all of those pieces. You go internationally, people know Wisconsin. So thank you so much for asking me.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate your insights on this. I know when we talked, you've got a great background for being on this council, so we appreciate it. And then the other new member recently added is Representative Breanne Brown. Representative, if you are able to share a little bit about your background and interests.
Yeah, sure. So I come from a military and farming family. My farming family started in berries and cows 200 years ago. Now they're almond growers in California. I'm in the Farmers Union Farm Bureau. I'm also on the Ag Committee for the Assembly, and just getting to learn a little bit more. Hopefully I can be of help.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for being part of the council. Thanks for being here today. It looks like you're on the road, so we'll give you some good information.
Very good. And Grant and Representative Brown, welcome to you. Look forward to your input on the committee. So I should have when we started a few minutes ago, I should have said Chad can't be here. Chad Vincent couldn't be here, so I'm a poor substitute for him. So I apologize for that. We'll see if we can make it through, and at some point, Secretary Romanski and I will have to slip out. I'm in the building because I also have a World Dairy Expo board meeting that the two of us are due at here sometimes. So we might not make it clear to the end, but we'll make it most of the way anyway. So with that, we'll keep rolling along and try to move through the agenda. So we'll move into the meat of the program now, and I think I've got a nice program lined up for this morning. And with that, we'll just kick it off. We've got Brendan Wilson from Food Export, and I don't know Brendan, but I understand that Food Export's worked with a number of companies here, and so look forward to hearing from you, Brendan, and have you go through your program with the group here. So you're on.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I hope I'm coming through okay. I'm coming to you from a basement in Chicago, but rest assured, I'm not wearing a Bears tie nor a Minnesota Gophers tie. My mom was born in Chilton and grew up in Boscobel, and my grandma's first apartment in Madison was a sublet from Helen C. White, which is after a library got named for her. That's where I met my wife. So I'm not allowed, as you'll see, I'm not allowed to have favorites amongst the 23 different state departments of agriculture we work with, but I let it slip every once in a while. So I'm really pleased to be addressing this body. And Cassie, is it okay if you roll through my slides on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you see your slide right now?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm good to go. Okay.
Perfect.
So next slide, please. I've been Food Export CEO for a couple years now. I've been with the organization for close to 15, and our job at Food Export is to help small and medium-sized companies in the Midwest and the Northeast find and engage with international markets. And particularly, this is going to be not just any old agriculture, but value-added, processed, consumer-oriented goods. We are not the Soybean Export Council or the Dairy Export Council. They're wonderful organizations that support commoditized agriculture. But the way I like to explain it is that when corn becomes cornmeal and cornmeal becomes tortilla chips, whatever, corn chips, that is when we get involved, is further down the value chain. So next slide, please. We are two separate nonprofits. I oversee both of them, membership-based organizations, and those members are not the companies we work with in your states. Those are the state departments of agriculture. These are critical partners. I see Jacob on the call, Cassie. I'm not sure. I can't see who else from the DATCAP team who is here, but they are in many ways the boots on the ground for food export programming. We take some of their time in making sure these programs work in the state of Wisconsin, and we hope that they bring kind of innumerable benefits with that time investment for state staff. So we have staff dedicated towards Wisconsin and outreach, and we do a lot of the work ourselves, but our partners are critical in executing this. Next slide, please. We're funded by the Market Access Program and the Regional Agricultural Promotion Program. These are USDA funding sources. One is congressionally created, and the other is directed by the agency themselves. We have a budget of let's call it $25-30 million a year in program funds, thanks to these two opportunities. And we are very competitive within the United States on that front. Next slide, please. As you'll see, Food Export Midwest is the third highest recipient of market access program dollars, and is up there with grains, meat, cotton, some very big heavy hitters in our industry. And that is because the volume and value of processed agriculture in the Midwest, and I'd like to think the effectiveness and efficiency of the organization I oversee, have something to do with that. Next slide, please. It's very similar in the agency directed funding too. So simply put, this Wisconsin, as well as 12 other Midwest state departments of agriculture, have access to some very strong resources, thanks to the opportunities in the region. Next slide, please. Other regions have food exports. That would be, there's a southern version of us and a western version of us. For those that are curious, and if you ever hear the names SUSTA or USADA somewhere, just know that those are real. Those are food export, and Midwest and Northeast happen to be structured a little differently thanks to its alliance. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Almost every case, our members are departments of agriculture. In some cases, those have spun off to economic development agencies, and unsurprisingly, in the Midwest, economic development agencies are often deeply, deeply tied in to the agribusiness interest in those states. Next slide. For about 25 years, Food Export Midwest and Northeast have worked together and shared a management team, and that is because of our board of directors, of which Secretary Romanski sits on, and his counterparts in the Northeast on an ongoing basis have decided that investing in this together and taking a kind of a bi-regional approach, that we're able to significantly expand our opportunities and the markets we have access to. And so that's been a highly successful model for us. Next slide. Always nice to see Secretary Romanski, because he is actually the vice president of Food Export Midwest at this time. And if he is brave enough to come join the other Midwest states in Medora, North Dakota in a few short weeks, we're expecting him to be reelected to that position. So he provides the governance And folks like Shirley and Jacob and this fantastic team at DATCAP, Cassie, Jennifer Liu, they're the ones that provide those operational points of contact, help us shape things on the ground, and help report up to the board as needed. Next slide, please. I probably don't need to lecture this group on why exporting is important, but I will just say we have seen the importance of value added and consumer oriented exports go up and up. At one point, that was not even just several years ago, that was a third or 40% of U.S. ag exports. And now last year, that was almost half of all U.S. ag exports from the United States were in that value added or consumer oriented. I like to remind folks that that's because when the United States gets its hands on a product, it innovates, it makes it better, it commands a premium price because of the investments in food safety and a number of other systems here. That isn't the case in other countries. What is the case, unfortunately, in other countries now is that commodities, particularly a soybean or wheat, those can be grown across the world. So the less commoditized the agriculture is, we're seeing that perform better and offer great value, great volume. And that's exciting for places like Wisconsin that have a long history of transforming land and other inputs into dairy cattle and transforming milk into cheese and developing premium brands around those agricultural products. That's the name of the game. That's where we see the agricultural trade surplus growing, not deficit. The deficit is occurring much more due to lower volume and value of commoditized exports. We could talk about the trade deficit at another time, probably somewhere along that lakefront or State Street. That would require something else. Next slide, please. Good examples of what we work with. I think tortilla chips, not corn. So obviously snack and convenience or dairy deli bakery, which we know IDDBA is located in Madison for a good reason. That's a good example of a kind of dairy bakery. That's where we do well. Pet food, value added wood, private label and frozen ingredients are fantastic. The state of Wisconsin clearly has a lot of dairy byproducts, co-products, dairy ingredients that play an important role in food manufacturing, feed manufacturing, a number of other things that happen in other parts of the world. Next slide, please. We do this with, this list gets longer every time I look at it, over 20 different overseas offices. These are some of these folks we've worked with for 20 years, some of these folks that actually DATCAP engages with for in-market expertise or other entities in Wisconsin. But I will say that these are the way that our state members are boots on the ground throughout the regions. These are our boots in the ground overseas. So these are the folks vetting buyers to come visit the Dairy Expo, vetting buyers to come visit the restaurant show in Chicago, providing market research, troubleshooting export transactions. You name it, these are the reasons that our organization is able to be successful. So these relationships, many of which have gone on for 2 decades, are critical to our success. Next slide, please. This, I do a lot of onboarding of new board members, state members, things of that nature. This slide is about as strong of a slide as I can present a state. I have to tell you that it is the investment that DATCAP makes in terms of its staff. It is the abundance of agricultural economics in the state of Wisconsin. But this isn't just punching at its weight, it's punching above it. So we see about 87 small to medium-sized companies in our programs every year, headquartered in your state. We don't work with large companies. Kraft Foods doesn't need help. Pepsi doesn't need help. We design our programs almost exclusively for small to medium-sized companies. So these would be under 500 employees. $2 million a year is what we calculate as a disbursement to Wisconsin companies. I'll talk a little bit more about the program that does that. But so we are heavily indexed to the state. And so I'm happy to be addressing this body. I'm happy that that the state of Wisconsin decides to maintain a robust team of folks helping us do this, because it makes a major difference in our performance as an organization and in the economics of Wisconsin. Millions and millions of dollars of export sales get reported to us from companies in your state. Next slide, please. We are a pipeline organization. We help people learn how to export and become ready for it. We get them into a market. These are not the size of entities that would be talking about foreign direct investment. These are companies that need an in-market partner, an importer, distributor, retailer. We have a number of ways to do that in person and virtually. And then finally, we run a cost share reimbursement program. So if a business if Lakefront Brewing wants to go exhibit at the Brew Expo or Bar Convent in London, we can offset their costs of getting a booth, of doing pre-event marketing, post-event follow-up. There's a lot of ways that I'll walk you through in just a second. Next slide, please. Education is absolutely critical. We American companies are biased towards focusing on domestic markets. Half of Americans own passports. If you tried to do that in the Netherlands or in Spain or in Central America, your business would not be successful. Just the food service market alone, which is in the United States, it's about $1.5 trillion. I mean, that would be like the 16th largest economy in the world, just food service in the United States. That's staggering. And it's also why we have to do extra work to help companies realize that 95% of the world, their potential customers, live outside the US. So we spend a lot of time on export readiness. Next slide, please. Market entry. So we do a lot of virtual connections, whether that's through trade leads or other online systems. We have a big emphasis on in-person relationships. Most of the world operates in these kind of high context business environments. So going to Japan, going to Saudi Arabia, going throughout Latin America, inviting key buyers from those markets to come here and attend shows like the restaurant show or the dairy expo or Summer Fancy Foods, where we know good food companies will be exhibiting and be interested in meeting them. We do a lot of support at trade shows, and inbound, outbound. This is where we rely on our in-market reps to find and vet buying opportunities, and where we rely on a team within a state to help identify who from that state is going to present the best opportunities to export. Next slide, please. And then finally, where half of our funds go are directly into the cash flow statements of small and medium-sized businesses. This is a very stringently run system that we've worked out with the USDA Foreign Ag Service, that we are allowed to, as long as the company matches us dollar for dollar, invest up to $300,000 a year into a small business in our region. $300,000 a year. Not many companies are big enough to quite do that, but some are, as cooperatives are allowed and eligible for the program. So we do have some cooperatives that participate. But I will say this is a transformative cash injection into these companies. This allows them to put their best foot forward and defray some of the most serious risks in trying to export, is by making sure that when it's time to promote that product, they are doubling that budget or offsetting half of those costs. We are increasingly seeing companies doing exciting things digitally. And I have to tell you that whether it's trade shows, digital, updating their packaging or labeling, doing in-store tasting demos or technical trainings for ingredient products, the U.S. Food and ag in general, and Wisconsin especially, enjoys a premium product. A high level of R&D has gone into these products, a high level of investment in food safety and sustainability. That means these products can and should command higher prices overseas. And I think that's the best path forward in a trade environment that's increasingly risky and harder to compete directly on tariff impacted prices. So this is really critical. Marketing has never been more important for food and ag companies, and so we're very happy that when you saw that number about $2 million going to Wisconsin in a given year, this is by and large where that's calculated from, is because Wisconsin's a very active participant in this program. Next slide, please. We're going to share a couple success stories and put them in context. Croy Valley Foods uses this to attend trade missions, attend trade shows. I know that they've also used STEP grants, and I think they're active in XM Bank too. That's a smart company that knows that when you're a certain size, you should use the resources available to you. Italy spends more money promoting wine every year than the entire federal government spends promoting agriculture from the United States. Just Italy and wine. So we should not be shy about using these programs. They have sales in Germany, Canada, Netherlands. They're getting into Mexico. This is a fantastic company and a perfect example of getting ready to export, using market entry, and then making sure you're using cost share opportunities to expand effectively. Next slide, please. Van Holten's, I love a good pickle. This is one of my favorite ones to highlight. The model, updating your packaging and labeling, especially when you're talking about a product like this, can be very expensive, and it's very important to do that in other markets. They've used digital marketing influencers. These are exactly the kind of expenses that Food Export can help defray using that cost share program. They would not be able to make these kind of sales in the EU, in Canada, in the Middle East without that kind of support. So they're another flagship company for us, and obviously one for the state of Wisconsin too. Next slide. That's it. I know you have a busy schedule. I hope that was efficient enough, and I'm certainly happy to take questions. I know I went through a lot, but I just have to say it's exciting to work with states that invest in their agricultural exports. That is not the case across the Midwest and the Northeast. That is not the case. That is the case here, and it's one of the reasons why Wisconsin has the impact it does all over the world. Thanks.
Thank you, Brendan. Questions for Brendan?
Well, people are contemplating questions, and I do encourage you to ask him, because Brendan is a great resource. This is Randy. I was laying in the weeds here just to wait. Thanks for the presentation, Brendan. And I know you can't choose favorites, but we know. I will be joining you in North Dakota, and looking forward to that. This is a really good example of not either or, but both and. I think Brendan kind of hit it at the end there. I mean, the not being shy to, number one, make the investments, offer the investments, and then encourage people to use those resources. So I encourage anybody who's participating in this meeting, and then the council members, to share this information with people who might be interested. So, but both and Food Export Midwest hits that small and medium-sized operation and some really good examples. You use Croy Valley and Van Holten pickle in a pouch, but you could use Jackson's Chips, who are also engaged, or Carnivore Pet Foods out of the Fox Valley. I mean, these are businesses that started small, and they're growing because of the resources that they've found through Food Export Midwest, and we really appreciate that partnership. The one thing I would add is the value of those in-country resources that Brendan mentioned as well. I'll give you one example. Wisconsin chose to do a really quick trade mission. Number one, because we had flexible dollars that the governor and the legislature have given us. And number two, the Packers were playing in Brazil. And if the Packers are playing in Brazil, why wouldn't we have a good old-fashioned tailgate in Brazil to show people what it's really like? And the Food Export Midwest in-country representative was remarkably valuable to us and to all of the businesses that chose to be part of that, because this was a quick drop into a market, have that kind of connection. And I'll mention the partners we had at that really quick trade mission, and it was the Ginseng Board of Wisconsin, Croy Valley Spices, which Brendan already mentioned, Gale's Cheese, which is kind of a staple with a lot of tailgate parties, Masters Gallery Cheese, which has been a really active participant in the Food Export Midwest program and in our programs here, Wisconsin Beef Council, Dairy Farmers Wisconsin, Wisconsin Cranberries, Wisconsin Potatoes. And that was just one quick drop in, and we were able to put that all together because of our team and the partnership we have with Food Export Midwest and their in-country representative. So my long way of saying thank you, Brendan, for always being there as a resource to not only the companies but also to us.
Well said. Thank you,
Brendan. How do you recruit new companies to be able to participate in the program? Is it through the departments, the various state departments of agriculture, or I don't know if that's, I'm not sure if my wording is very correct.
No. It's a great question. Yes. The state departments of agriculture are charged with really promoting these things in state. And then we have a dedicated outreach staff member who doesn't just do Wisconsin, although he's a UW grad. So sorry, not sorry. He covers a couple more states than just Wisconsin. But yeah, that partnership's really critical. That a Jacob, a Shirley, a Cassie, is Jennifer there? I can't tell if Jennifer's there. No. Okay, sorry. The whole team is in touch with Daniel in our office, and they're talking about prospecting all the time. And the good news, and the bad news, is that everybody's a new exporter in some market. So we really try to take the approach that we're doing prospecting kind of out of the blue. And that might come from a department of ag person who's in the working with businesses in their state, and then our liaison might find out that one of our companies just lost a key distributor or is ready to move not just from Mexico to Canada, but maybe to the UAE for the first time. So we try to take a 360-degree view on it, and that's one of the critical partnership points is in that recruitment process.
Good, thank you. Any other questions for Brendan?
One other comment, I guess. So this, Brendan, this is Randy. The value of the MAP and the RAP funding at the federal level, when the investment was made there, and not being shy about asking, right? Don't ask, don't get. We applied for RAP funding as a state Department of Agriculture because of that both and approach. Now, we weren't successful, but Food Export Midwest, because it has this umbrella of operating with all the states, all the businesses, and with Food Export Northeast, has been very successful in securing the MAP and RAP funding from the federal level, which is a really valuable, both and. This is a win-win-win scenario. So they offer this connectivity that kind of we benefit from because they have these connections around the world, and the MAP and RAP funding is a really important part of it. So as not asking anybody to lobby or anything, but as we look at expenditures that are made at the federal level and the bang for the buck, seeing those dollars available, and I would say hopefully keeping those dollars available to continue to open markets is really, really valuable, because the world economy is an interesting place always, but especially right now.
Okay, anything else? I think we'll move on to the next topic then. So we'll throw it to Secretary Romanski, and Jacob's been very patient there, waiting for his turn on the program. So we'll turn it over to the two of you to talk about the trade mission.
That sounds good. And Brendan, if you're still on, and I think Laura was on before, thank you for jumping in and talking a little bit about the good work you do. I'm going to actually kick off my discussion about the trade mission to Southeast Asia to talk to emphasize partnerships and the importance of those partnerships. The one that we have with Food Export Midwest is a really good example of how we open doors around the world. And the trip that we made to Thailand and Indonesia was kind of heavily rooted in partnerships. And I'm going to just rattle off a couple of them. The university was a big part of this trip. UW was a big part of this, and both UW-Madison and River Falls had participants in the trade mission to Thailand and Indonesia. And that was really valuable and helped open some doors that maybe we might not have opened otherwise. Here's one quick example. We went to a meeting in Thailand, and the group from Wisconsin, including folks from the university, business leaders on our team, was sitting on one side of the table, and across the table were all of the delegation members at very high ranking levels in Thailand. And over half of the people sitting on the other side of the table were UW-Madison graduates. Now, I can't tell you how many doors that opens when you're sitting across the table from somebody who is from another country, lives in another country, but has that connection to not only the United States, but to Wisconsin. That's a huge door opener. And so us having this partnership with the university, both River Falls and Madison, was a really big part of, getting to some of the places that we might not have otherwise gotten to. So as we talk about investments, continue to invest in our educational resources is really valuable, because bringing people from the rest of the world here for their degrees, and then having them go back to wherever they're from, is that lasting connection that is a big plus for us. So that was one part, strong UW alum presence there. Another thing, World Dairy Expo, which Keith and I have to leave for the World Dairy Expo board meeting here shortly. It's a centerpiece that we have on spotlighting Wisconsin products abroad. And we brought a group of about 36 people from Indonesia to Wisconsin last year as part of the World Dairy Expo. Keith was part of hosting them and showing them around. And that's a really valuable draw to bring people here to show them all that Wisconsin has to offer. And that was heavily dairy related. And then what do they say when they're here? Oh, you should come and visit us. Well, we do. And when we went to Indonesia, we could say, you were just here in our country last fall. Now we're here to visit you. Let's follow up on those interactions. And again, having those doors open because they've had that connection to Wisconsin is really, really valuable. And a group of them is coming back to World Dairy Expo again this year, just to kind of keep this thing rolling. It all cascades nicely. One of the key points of why we were going, and Jacob will probably talk a little bit about this, but whether you call it VIV Asia, which is what I call it, or we found out there you call it Viv Asia, which is a huge trade show. There was great participation from Wisconsin in that trade show. That was one of the hallmarks of we're going there for that, and then we can do other things because we have the flexible funding that the governor and the legislature made available to us to do these kinds of trips. And last but not least, our partner with WEDC. From there, since we're in Southeast Asia, Jennifer Liu, who's not here today, was able to kind of springboard into a partnership visit with WEDC in another country in Southeast Asia. So as I kick off the discussion about the trip to Thailand and Indonesia, I wanted to kind of focus on the fact that because of all these partnerships, because of the flexibility we have, because of the team we have, we're able to do these things. So Thailand and Indonesia, very important markets. I think the rest of the United States is identifying that. The rest of the world is identifying that too. Why? It's because they have large populations. They have a growing middle class, disposable income, interest in quality products, and specifically awareness and interest in U.S. products. Well, I think Grant was saying on the lead in, Wisconsin has so much to offer because of the diversity of our products here. And I would add to that diversity, quality, reliability, and availability, which is the huge selling point when we go to any country. But it was especially resonant when we were in Thailand and Indonesia. Viv Asia was a really good way to showcase Wisconsin companies, Wisconsin products, and let them talk directly with people that hopefully they've developed contacts with that will lead to some additional trade. But other major companies, whether they're grain or dairy, a lot of dairy discussion because both countries are very interested in growing their dairy industry. In fact, Indonesia is interested in growing it exponentially. And so these were really tremendous contacts for us. Because of the contacts our team has had in both countries, we were hopping. There were a lot of places for us to go, a lot of places for us to visit. And that's good, because if we're going to make that trip, we want it to be really productive. And I guess I'll stop briefly and just say that, you know, the focusing on opportunity markets is good. We can't be everywhere as much as we would like, even with the additional funding, and even with the staff that we have. But we're in right now 151 countries around the world, meaning Wisconsin products, which is pretty darn impressive. It gets back to what Grant was saying earlier of, wow, we've got a lot to offer. We do. And these two markets in particular are really good opportunity markets for Wisconsin and Wisconsin products. And I guess I'll just kind of stop there and say as an endpoint, it was good for us to go there. These are great market opportunities. Wisconsin products should do well, but it doesn't stop there. We continue to have connections, because building that relationship, making that trip there, bringing people here is an important part of exposing them to the quality, diversity, reliability, and availability of Wisconsin products. So I'll stop there, turn it over to the capable hands of Jacob to kind of fill in some blanks. But again, really appreciate everybody being here. I'm putting Keith and I in the 10-minute warning clock that we have to leave shortly. So Jacob will take it from here.
Thank you, Secretary Romanski. I don't have too much to add. I think you did a good job to the VIV concept. The only parts that I'll add is we did have a Wisconsin pavilion within the USA pavilion, and we try to do that at a lot of the trade shows we go, is to participate with the USA pavilion. The name of USA does resonate positively throughout the world. It's that soft power that's typically talked about from time to time. And just one gentle example of that and why our presence there is so important within that pavilion, but also at these shows as a whole, is there was a large group of Indian buyers that came through, and they had no clue who Wisconsin was. They had no clue what our companies were. They came up to our companies and they were like, tell us about you. What do you have to offer? And we're like, how do you not know the company? Why are you approaching? They go, well, you're in the USA pavilion. We want US products. So it's great to have that. And because we were within that presence, we were able to feature those Wisconsin businesses. So it's not just buying from the USA, it's buying from Wisconsin. So those businesses are still doing the lead follow-ups on that, and we're really growing within that type of market. Why are we targeting Asia for like a feed show or a livestock show? Half the world's population is on that continent alone. So if there is a way to grow globally, it's by targeting those types of events that have the consumer markets, that they have the biological market for it. When I say that, some of these countries might be smaller, or, oh, is it worth the time? Some of the numbers that I like to look at is how is the consumer trends growing or changing with time? So one example for that market is the protein consumption per capita is growing very rapidly. They're not typically buying protein internationally to get there, especially if they don't have the finances, but they're going to buy our supplements. They're going to buy our grains. They're going to buy that to feed to their local livestock situation, typically starting on the smaller scale, working your way up. So poultry, then pork, depending on religious values, then into the bovine sector. So if we can be there to provide them the knowledge, the resources, the feed items to grow within that, they're going to be able to do quite well down the road. Our businesses will prosper as well. So it's these types of relationships, and having Secretary Romanski a part of it is key at times, because he is able to open the door for more conversations that we typically wouldn't have if it was just like our staff or just the businesses going. So it's a great relationship that we have in having state of Wisconsin's presence there, our businesses there, and all within the USA Pavilion. And I think we have a pretty cool video to show you next of some of the successes of the trade mission.
We hope that we can share the video, that's for sure. Let's make sure that it starts over here. Oh, come on. And I will beware everyone, there is some sound to this video. So if you have your volume turned up pretty loud, just be prepared to turn it down or up, depending on where it is. Technology worked.
Well, a couple things that came to mind as we were looking through those slides, I was reminded about a couple of visits, not immediately trade related, but one of the groups we met with that was in those photos was a group called FFI, Future Farmers of Indonesia, which is a cool development because when the group came when the group from Indonesia came to World Dairy Expo last year, one of the things they wanted to do, and Keith was there, was they wanted to set up a conversation with FFA members and advisors. And so we had some of the youth leaders from FFA there. And that springboarded them to start FFI. And they are way into their development. One of our follow-ups is to connect them with FFA so that they can have a partnership here with a group. And so Wisconsin FFA, we hope, will be that connection. The other thing I wanted to mention, because I talked about the both and, or the value add, or the importance of partnerships. One important group that I left off was the USDA Foreign Ag Service team members there. Holy smokes, does that help? And I've never come across a USDA Foreign Ag Service team that is not top of the charts. They know the market. And one of the young woman in the peach suit who was in some of those videos was somebody from the USDA Foreign Ag Service group in Thailand. And she gave our group a briefing that was impeccable, like what we needed to do, what we needed to look at, places we should go, people we should talk to, opportunities, the economy. That's the kind of service you get from those USDA Foreign Ag Service in-country people. Same thing in Indonesia. They were with us in Indonesia start to finish, and one of the meetings that was shown there was the meeting with the ambassador. And so having them there as a resource is that federal investment in finding international markets that we need to, that has to continue into the future. We would be an advocate for doing that because it's one more thing that we might be able to find our way into, but they can show us there, they can get us there, they can open that door for us. And it was fantastic in both countries. It was great in Brazil, it was great in Chile, Morocco, wherever we've been able to be. Having those Foreign Ag Service folks there has been very valuable. So that was a couple things to add and lead in. And the other thing is, when I was going through the group of sponsors in Brazil, I don't think I mentioned another one, which is Jackson's Chips. So I want to make sure that we're giving credit to all of our Wisconsin products that were there. And they're also an active member of the Food Export Midwest program. So back to you, sir.
Good. Well, thank you. And I think you're right about the FAS folks. They, in my experience, every time I've run into them, various countries, been extremely helpful on trying to open new doors and market intelligence, that type of thing. So we'll move on to Jacob again. You're ready to go over the export highlights. This will be a nice report to give. So I think everybody should look forward to hearing that from you, Jacob.
No problem. And I hope not to bore everybody with a whole bunch of numbers, and I hope they don't sound repetitive. So I'll try to bring some liveliness and some behind the scenes action of what we're seeing on some of this, and potentially I'll also mention some of the activities that we've done to support some of the different sectors that we're in, just at a high level. And if there's questions, feel free to ask. I don't typically present this report. So if I don't have an answer to your question, I'll definitely note it and then follow up with the group afterwards of what that question, or with what the response should be for that one. So, but for the first quarter of 2025, the numbers are looking very good actually so far for the year, despite the potential turmoil in the markets and the market barriers that people are experiencing out there. The first quarter was relatively unscathed for the state, and actually our sales grew for the state 2.16% year to date. That's a really interesting comparison to the U.S., who during that same time point went down 4.73%. So when Wisconsin grew, the rest of the U.S. actually shrank in that window. So our exports are up during that time frame. A couple categories that are of interest would be like the dairy, which is our number 2 category for us. grew 23%. That's roughly parallel to what we've been seeing all of last year. So we're still within that window of growth, and it's still in that nice upward trend for it. Sauces and yeasts are up 19%. Beverages are also up 45%. So we're seeing some unique areas. But we also have some hardship starting to come. So wood is down 19%, and that's due to some of some of those market barriers that are starting to happen in the global sphere of things, particularly China on the wood side. We're experiencing that. Meat sausages, apologies, have increased their growth up to 30% now. So that's a very nice trend to start to see. And we're starting to see other market barriers change throughout the world in our favor. Prior to this current federal administration coming in, that is allowing that meat sector to start to grow for us, actually. So $1.01 billion is what we saw in sales for the first quarter of 2025. Next slide, please. If we go into the specifics of some countries, we're seeing some different trends start to happen here. One of them would be Mexico being down 20%. This was more in the milled products and oilseed sector that we're seeing a big decrease in. But other products like cheese, for instance, is up heavily in Mexico. So we're kind of monitoring that to see if there's any trends or any efforts that we need to put more on the crop side in that market down the road. But dairy has definitely been on the positive trend for that market. And then just some other areas of unique interest. India is up 43%. Let's look to my notes on that one. That's in the confectionery, and the cranberry sector is growing to India right now quite a bit. And Thailand is also experiencing a 47% growth curve. And a good chunk of that is coming from the whey and dairy ingredient sector. But also number two is actually the cheese products, where we're seeing a significant growth in cheese to Thailand at the moment in our export data. And we do know, Wisconsin, the state has put in some efforts in it. Dairy farmers of Wisconsin have put in some good efforts to grow in that market. And it's always great to start to see the data reflect some of those efforts down the road. And another fun one for overall comparison would be Congo's growth. They hit the number 8. And I'll cover the details of this one when we get to the crop sector. But Congo hit number 8 for total dollar value of exports. So 1.01 billion for the first quarter of 2025, as I said earlier. Next slide, please. Canada still remains one of our top exports for dairy at the end of the day. 82% of our total exports go to the top 10 countries, but Canada is up 33%. A lot of this is on the dairy ingredient side, so it's not always on the cheese side for growth curve. But as more companies get allocations, it's Wisconsin knocking on the door in that market to try to make sure we get those allocations in our types of favor down the road. But overall, dairy's growth is pretty significant at the end of the day. Total dairy is up, and we did $187 million in exports in the dairy category, which is a overall very impressive number in parallel to what we've done in the past. Mexico up 58% in the cheese and curd category. Oh, very good. Thank you. And Thailand, there's the fun kicker of 324% increase in Thailand for the milk category. It was equal to, I believe, like a $250,000 in the first quarter alone. So that trend we expect to continue. Brazil has slightly come down. Brazil is still one of the top countries for that, for us to focus on for dairy types of exports. And I'll talk about Brazil in a little bit, actually.
I think the TV
Next
died.
slide, please. Oop. Can everybody in the room still hear?
Need to jump on.
Yep, I can hear you.
It's charging. You'll want to jump on the Zoom because it's still going, and I'm still sharing.
Yep. Can the room still hear us though?
Apparently wonky.
I can hear you, Jacob. I don't know.
Well, I still have the thing going, but yes, it is
Okay,
still going because
says we can hear you.
okay. We just can't see anything.
Okay, if the room can hear, can we go to the next slide, please? If not, I can start sharing. I'll start this sharing.
That part is the problem because it's all on that screen.
If I can figure out how to share.
You go.
Apologies, everyone. Gotta love technology.
Jacob, I'll message the room if you want to share your screen. I think that's probably good.
Okay. One moment. Sorry, everyone.
We just unplug. Perfect. This is why we had him.
Okay, are the slides coming through for everybody? Oh, no,
I don't currently see slides.
apologies.
All right, it looks like it's trying to load. There we go. And then if you want to go into presentation mode, then we're almost there.
Oh, the nervousness of figuring this out on the spot.
They were back online in here, Jacob, too.
Okay.
Awesome. We can see that slide, Jacob.
Okay, sounds good. And this is the main presentation then. So, sorry, making sure I know where I'm at. This doesn't scary. Okay, meat sector. Meat sector, we did notice a more consistent change in the meat. Sorry, let me get to the notes there. Some market conditions, like I made comments earlier, are starting to help in the meat sector. So one small example is when tariffs are typically negotiated. I'll talk about this for when it comes to this market in particular. Typically, it's a negotiation that sets changes for a long-term curve, more or less. Oops, sorry, I didn't know my camera was still off. And what that means is typically it could take 5-10 years for the full negotiation terms to take effect. So one of the positives was on the Korea side when it comes to meat. In 2025, January 1, 2025, Korea did hit zero tariffs on the meat sector. So we are starting to notice some positive changes for a market like that in the overall growth, which hasn't really experienced a lot of U.S. beef in the past, but that's where we're seeing the up 3% for Korea. Japan is up 15% also on the fresh and chilled beef, and China is also up 14%. But with the current market conditions and some changes that are happening, we are noticing a decrease in bovine exports to China on the data side. This is not tariff related. This is specific to health restrictions and certificate negotiations between the USDA and China that are still being worked on today. So we did participate. The IDW in Australia, the VIV Asia, we had some meat companies represented at it. So Genex would be an example of that. And then Hong Kong Fur and Fashion representing the fur industries for the state. Moving into the crop sector, though, still maintaining some solid numbers on the crop side as our largest category of total agricultural exports. 66 to 68% of our total exports agriculture come from the crop sector at the end of the day. Canada has remained flat, which is not a bad thing because they are number one market for it. So I'd rather see flat than a decrease in any market at any point in time. Mexico, this is where I made comment on some changes that we're starting to see there in the grain sector. Soybeans, wheat have gone down, but corn is up for that market at the moment. So China is also flat, but we are seeing some market changes and trends as that's been a pretty volatile market so far this year in the wood and ginseng sector to go down actually. And this is where I wanted to make some fun comments on Congo. It actually hit our top 5 for this category. Good and bad, depending on how you look at it. There's a lot of droughts in that region of the world right now, so not good for them, good for us because we're the ones getting all the grain and commodity sales to that region. At $19 million just in corn agricultural exports to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Korea up 47% in prepared or food preparations. And the Netherlands has not had a lot of change, but cranberries is one of the top products that we're shipping to that market at the moment. So some of the trade promotion that we've done in the first quarter of the year that affects crops would be that VIV Asia show again. The Gulf Food in Dubai and IFE London would have supported this type of sector. And that will wrap up the quarterly highlights. Any questions on it? Yeah.
All right. Can you guys hear us in the room now? Perfect.
Yes, I hear you.
We were prepared for some technological issues, so thank you for your patience as we figured that out. And technology was nice to us for a minute there, and then it decided to be mean. So with that, we can move on, and we'll give Jacob a little bit of a break from chatting for a little bit. But if you could continue.
I just lost audio. Did anybody else?
Yeah, I lost audio as well. If the room can hear us, we lost you.
I am messaging with the room, so hopefully, yep, it looks like they are troubleshooting that now.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
Aaron, do you have something that you'd want to cover when it comes to this, or do you want to? Oop, Aaron, you're muted.
Thank you. With regard to planned activities, or
I just saw Cassie's message to either
sorry, hold on, let me take a look at it.
continue on or rotate to you.
Okay.
If you want, I can jump ahead a couple of slides and talk about the area that I was planning on for a trade promo, and that should buy them some time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Great.
Okay, we'll do that. So as we've talked about, and Secretary Romanski actually teed me up quite well for for this Brazilian activity, actually. So as mentioned, relationships are so key at the end of the day, and it's not just you do one activity, you leave the market and you're done. Like, it takes a long time to build relationships, to build rapport in the market. You try a piece of cheese, you like it, and a lot of people, for instance, walk away and then they forget about it. But it's that third, fourth, fifth bite, it's the experience at the end of the day that really helps grow it. And our efforts in Brazil have been going on for 3-4 years now. I'll give Shirley Aceto definitely credit for doing 2 years worth of trade show activities in the market. And then last fall was when Secretary Romanski had that short mission to help kick off the Packers down there. So that was in September of 2024. So this year, to continue with the efforts, I was down there as the DATCAP representative at the Anuga Select Show. We had 3 companies there. We had Mariani Family representing the cranberry industry for the state. And then we also had 2 cheese companies, AMPI and Oruna Ingredients North America. So a couple different sectors kind of represented, but definitely some of the areas that we've been pushing a little bit more for in market. And some of the fun takeaways that we're starting to get more into there is there's definitely an interest in something as common as American cheddar out of all products to really gravitate to. They were trying it. They were using processed cheese, processed cheddar down there. Once they had our good cheddar, they were very impressed with it. Also, being that it's a Latin American market and they like a more spicier product, pepper jack cheese was another big success. They were really trying it and getting into it a lot more. So where do we go from there, right? How do we actually get the export and what's the process? So it takes over a year for a country or a company to be registered in Brazil, and go through all the regulatory process and get all their products registered and market that they plan to ship there. So if you do a 1-year survey, you're not going to see the results. You do a 16-month survey, you're going to potentially see more results down the road. So we're working with the Wisconsin companies down there to go through the regulatory process to get their products registered and get their business ready. And while down there, we also introduced them to like some sausage manufacturers in market and also some like big retailers to where they can ship 500-pound blocks of cheddar directly to cut and market. Don't have to pay that packaging in Wisconsin. That can be done down in Brazil. And also potentially have it be Wisconsin cheese in their version of what a brat or sausage would be. I have the term, I apologize if I don't have it right, linguiça, if that's the right sausage name for Brazil, that might have some cheese in it. But those are the types of companies that we introduced the Wisconsin businesses to. And in the cranberry sector, they had a much broader reach than just Brazil. Mariani definitely spoke to several companies that were in some other markets. I remember Peru, some discussions they had, and also some of the Caribbean regions to ship Wisconsin cranberries to as well. So some really good opportunities for us to grow. But that all starts with these relationships and they take time. And while there, we also worked heavily with FAS. Foreign Agricultural Service. And now they've followed up with us, expressing interest in potentially doing like a cheese buyer's mission to Wisconsin to continue the efforts that we've been doing. They said they've got retailers that are talking about cheese. They've tried our product. They're really interested. And they were like, where else do we go but Wisconsin when it comes to cheese? So we're in that discussion to see, the how, if, whens, all that fun logistic stuff to potentially do a mission like that down the road. So that's what an activity that we do that also involves, the secretary at one stage, other staff at other stages, development and becomes for our businesses to grow and export. And has the room jumped on yet?
I believe so. We've all decided to join from our own offices or our own computers just to avoid more technical issues. So thanks everybody for your patience.
I'll pass it over to you then, Jane.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Jane Krull, and some of you probably don't recognize me. I'm an unfamiliar face with many of you in this group, but I am the Bureau Director on the other side of this Division of Ag Development. I work in the with the Farm Center and also some more domestic marketing programs in the state. But for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been filling in as the interim bureau director for the international group. I've been with DACAP about 6 years, but I previously was with DACAP in 1995 through 2003. I'm aging myself, but I worked in international at that time. I was a consultant, just like Jacob and Shirley and the gang are, and I worked in livestock genetics and feed products specifically. So I do have some international background, and there's 2 things I'd like to start with saying. And first of all, what an incredible opportunity WIAE is, because from my previous experience in international, we're grateful for our federal cooperator groups and the resources given for international, but to have this state-specific funding is an amazing opportunity for us to complement the federal funding that we're able to attain for our Wisconsin agribusinesses. So the second thing I'd like to say is in the last 5 months of getting to know the international team in more depth is how impressed I am with our group of consultants. They work so hard. A shout out to Jennifer and Shirley, who are not joining us today. They're taking some well-needed time off. Jennifer is just getting back from Peru, and Shirley is enjoying her new grandbaby this week. So they're sorry they couldn't join. But as you may or may not know, we were only about half staffed for the past year and a half or so. So Shirley and Jennifer really picked up the ball, and we're traveling and doing a whole lot of work in the last year. We're grateful to have now Jacob and Cassie have joined the team. Jacob's about to celebrate a year here with DACAP. Cassie joined us afterwards, and they've been incredible additions to the team. And just to have the complementary services of the federal cooperator groups, along with this Wisconsin Initiative for Ag Exports, is just an amazing opportunity. I'm really excited for Wisconsin and the growth we're seeing and also that we're going to see. So thank you to everyone on this council for your support. With that, I would wanted to get into where we're at year to date on our trade promotion highlights specific to WIEE funding. We've conducted 40 trade promotion activities. 169 companies have been involved in that, along with 27 organizations. And so far, again, this is year to date, we've got a lot of activities still shaking out, and recent activities haven't been recorded yet. But so far, we're showing immediate sales reported by companies as 11 million and anticipated 1-year sales of 17.6 million. So that's exciting, and that would equate to about 241 anticipated jobs created for the state. And as you know, with WIE, we always work to have 50% focused on dairy, 25% on meat, and 25% on crops. So that shows where we're at to this point. But again, this is only year to date, and things are still shaking out. So that's where we're at today. I believe that Jacob jumped ahead and highlighted one of his activities already, but I think we're going to Cassie next, who's going to highlight an inbound mission we did.
I am, and thank you, everybody. Again, technology is really fun to work with sometimes, and I appreciate you just listening to Jacob just this whole time. So thank you. I'm really excited to talk about this opportunity that we had as an inbound cheese buyers mission that came through for Wisconsin. So this was one of the first projects that I worked on as a international economic development consultant. So I really hit the ground running. As Jane said, I started in January. So this project was at the end of April into the first couple days of May. But it was a product of kind of what we've been saying of these activities that we were attending. This was a product of attending some of those activities. We're able to bring 12 cheesemongers, buyers, and actually an influencer. And the influencer is a food influencer from France. He has a pretty sizable following. So throughout our whole visit, he was making live posts that was not only showcasing Wisconsin in general, but Wisconsin agriculture, what each of the cheese companies are doing to help kind of promote cheese and just education as well for his really extensive following. I think it's just over 1 million people that follow him, which is great. It was amazing reach, and it helped change the perspective, as you can see for the quote that's on the screen. But the goal of the delegation was really to just raise the awareness of Wisconsin's specialty cheese. There's over 600 varieties of cheese made in Wisconsin, and that's pretty mind-blowing to most people that don't live here, and honestly to people who are from Wisconsin. I myself did not know that there was that many varieties of cheese, so it was great to not only get to try some, but also just to be educated myself. So thank you for that opportunity. But it really helped really just change the perspective of those folks that were a part of the trip. As we know, the EU is a pretty tough market for especially cheese to get into. So this helped kind of change the mindset of what I learned was the folks in that country truly believe that we're just kind of doing cheap knockoffs of what they have perfected, but they've realized that we're not trying to copy. We've truly made our own versions of these products and made them fit for our market. And they did see potential value and potential opportunities over in Europe for some of these cheeses. So it was a great opportunity. You can see the little map that we did attend. We started off our tour kind of in the south central area of Wisconsin and worked our way up to Green Bay. So we were really grateful to work with partners. Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin was instrumental, Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association. We also were able to involve the U.S. Dairy Export Council in this trip as well. And then our partners up at New North, so they help with the economic development of those state or those counties specifically in Wisconsin. So we were able to work with them, which again was great. While in Green Bay, we also had the opportunity to host a reception. So for the folks that are the cheese plants that we weren't able to visit in our tour because they were only here for a certain number of days, we invited them to be a part of that reception where they were able to interact with the buyers, also network amongst themselves, but then meet with other industry leaders, which was really great. You'll see some of those photos that were of that reception on the screen. We do hope to host a couple more of these type of missions in the future because we see the value, and we hope you see the value, and hope to invite some of your companies as well for depending on the type of buyers that we're bringing in. But we want to truly showcase just the history, the tradition of Wisconsin, but also just the plethora of commodities that we have available to international markets. So it was an amazing trip, and I'll finish with the quote. It really did change these buyers' perspectives, and they didn't realize just how much of a family business most of our Wisconsin companies are truly providing. So it was a great and memorable trip, and we hope again to invite some of you folks in our futures and maybe help us plan some. So I think I'll leave you with that, but it was great, and we'll let you know more of when they're coming through. And I dropped in the chat just so everyone knows. A link to some of our upcoming missions that we are planning on hopefully hosting. Some of them are tentative, or all of the ones that are on the website are confirmed that we will be attending, but I guess it'll be 2 slides from now if we go to the next ones. shows our future plans. So I don't know, Jane, if you wanted to just give a little brief overview, or I can just say something about it as well.
Sure. We do have a list of our future plans for this coming fiscal year. Of course, nothing's set in stone at this point with waiting to hear on the governor's budget proposal, as well as finalizing some of our activities and seeing where our budget ends up for FY25. But I talked before about the team and how impressed I am with the team. They are very eager, motivated to make things happen for Wisconsin exports. We sat in a room, I think it was a combination of over meetings of a couple days trying to work through, and I bet there could be another 50 things on this list if they had their way, but we had to limit it to our budget. So we're grateful to have what we have for WIAE, but this is tentatively what we have planned for FY25 as far as some of our activities. As you can see, very robust plan here with now that we're fully staffed with 4 consultants. We also have a new food export intern, Claire, who's on the call. So more to come when we refine these plans, but of course, keep an eye on our International Agribusiness newsletter to see about upcoming activities that are planned when they come to fruition. And I'll jump in here as well, just to mention again the staff. We have Jennifer Liu, who just celebrated 15 years with DACAP doing international, and Shirley Acedo, who joined us from Kansas State Department of Ag a few years ago, and Jacob, who's almost celebrating a year. This lists their specialties as well. Cassie Miller, also a great addition. Cassie, thank you for all your work into WAXC. That takes more than you may think to put these meetings together. And our newest addition is Claire Esselman, who's on the call, and she's going to be a junior at UW-Madison, and she's going to be working with us full-time this summer and then part-time through December. So she'll get to know the folks at Food Export who are on the call as well. So and actually, I wanted to call as well Julie Lassa, who's our administrator for Division of Ag Development. You met her at the WAXC meeting early this year, and it was literally her first week on the job, I believe. So she has now definitely got exposure and understands a lot. She's really had to dig into the international work we're doing because there's a whole lot going on. And in the meantime, we've had quite a few vacancies in our small division. And of course, the most critical being our bureau director. So I'm going to now call on Julie Lassa to give us some information about that.
Great. Thanks, Jane. So I'm very happy to tell all of you that we have a new bureau director who's coming on board. His first day will be July 14th. So his name is Ira Friedman. He's been selected, as I said, as the new Export and Business Bureau Director. So he has 15 years of experience where he has served in senior leadership roles at the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID. Most recently, from 2022 through 2025, he served as the Agriculture Development Officer in Washington, D.C. He was a lead for 20 USAID bilateral missions in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East on behalf of the REFS Bureau. He led interagency coordination to implement Feed the Future's global food security strategy and mentored over 20 junior USAID Foreign Service ag officers in advance of their overseas assignments. Prior to the role, Ira was a office director for climate and sustainable growth in Pakistan, office director for technical advisory group, senior in the regional partnership advisor in Thailand. He was a team lead in the regional agriculture development in Afghanistan, and he was the team lead for energy and private sector in Kenya. So in addition to this work experience, Ira also was a volunteer to the United States Peace Corps in Haiti. He has a bachelor's degree from the University of Kansas in environmental studies and a master's at USC Davis in international ag development. So we really look forward to Ira joining our team. He'll be overseeing the IABC team as well as our economic innovation team as well. So it will be nice to have him on board as Mark retired a few months back, And it's just great to see all the work that's been going on globally because of the IABC team that you have there on the screen. And we look forward to Ira joining us.
Aaron, you would be up next.
All right, thanks everybody. I think I have 2 minutes, and I can do this fast, so that is fine. Great information today. Appreciate all the wonderful discussion and topics. Just a couple of things to make people aware of. We are getting ready to kick off our International Market Access Grant window for FY26. So I think most of you are probably pretty familiar with this WEDC's International Market Access Grant. It's a reimbursement grant for Wisconsin companies that have specific short-term expenses associated with a targeted export project for a particular identified international market. We have partnered with DATCAP to basically fold to utilize the IMAG framework, fold WIAE funding into that so that we can administer those grants with WIAE funding. So we will be kicking off our next grant window for all of our IMAGs on July 1st. That will run through October 15th. Companies that apply for and receive those grants will have until December 31st of the next full calendar year, so 2026, to complete their projects. So I would encourage companies to get applications in. I'm going to drop just a quick little link here into the chat. We are going to have a couple of webinars. If people have questions, they can certainly join those, or they can reach out to us and talk to either myself or Sheila Postler, our grant and fund manager at WEDC, if they have questions related to the IMAGs. Grants are either $10,000 or $30,000. $30,000 are for companies that have utilized and gone through and graduated through the Export Tech program. They're eligible for 6 grants, 1 per year of up to $30,000. Companies that haven't gone through are eligible for $10,000 grants, up to $10,000 each time. Buckets, as you can see, export education, trade shows and missions, marketing and promotion, consulting services, things like that. So very similar to what you heard earlier as far as services and support that a lot of organizations provide. So yeah, that's our upcoming IMAG window. Trade missions for FY26, a little bit scaled back, and for a number of reasons. One, we're still waiting on budget information. So this I suppose it's always possible this could become a little bit more robust, but we are also trying to make sure that we are providing enough time to recruit effectively and do a really robust job in allowing companies to kind of go through the trade mission process, not just get them on board and set up those meetings, but get them on board early enough that they can engage in the process with the trade rep, maybe have some virtual meetings in advance of being in country to make sure that they see the value and that they're able to do more when they're there. So we'll be heading to Japan in September for our trade mission there to Tokyo, followed by Canada in November, early November. Not necessarily maybe the ideal time to be in Canada, but I think it'll still be beautiful. So we'll be in Montreal and Toronto, followed by Mexico City and Monterrey in February, and then Berlin and Frankfurt in June of 26. Just a note with Berlin and Frankfurt, the Germany trade mission, we have a 50-year sister state relationship with the state of Hessen in Germany, and 2026 is that year of the anniversary of that. So that will, in many ways, I'm sure, coincide with any kind of celebration and work that we do to recognize what our partnership with Germany for the last 50 years, and I'm sure that we will figure out a way to make sure that Wisconsin food is part of that celebration as well. So those are trade missions that we're recruiting now. Registration's open for Japan. Registration is open for Canada. Registration will probably open next week for Mexico, and Germany probably in the next few weeks as well. So again, trying to grow and extend that runway and timeline for our trade missions. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out. Did want to real briefly mention the Governor's Export Achievement Awards. This is something that happens every year, and this is since 1981 an opportunity for us to recognize the amazing work that Wisconsin companies have done around exporting and to really celebrate the success that they have had in the last few years. Generally, there's a number of companies, including at least one agriculture, food and ag company that is part of that as well. So it is open right now, the opportunity to go ahead and nominate companies. I'm just reaching out and grabbing the link for that as well. If you have companies that you think would be fantastic for this, we would love to know about them. So we're still working on dates and details around the formal event, which happens later in the year. Companies that are picked for this not only get an award and are recognized at the event, WEDC's marketing team works with them to produce a short 2 to 3 4-minute video that really kind of highlights the company and what they've achieved. So there's a value to that as well. So we really want to continue to grow this event. It used to be a much larger event, and then it kind of scaled back, and we've been working to rebuild it for the last several years. And I think it's really starting to get legs again. So please feel free to reach out on that as well if you have any questions. Would love to get as many nominations as possible. That nomination deadline is July 15th. So please feel free to send any your way. There's a link to the nomination form on the bottom of the link that I dropped in the chat. And then I think that's just the information that we have right now. That's our team as it stands right now. The only person who's not there, and I feel bad about this because you added your intern. We do have an intern on our GTI team now as well, Naomi Gonzalez, who just started with us, and we're thrilled to have her. One of the things that we haven't necessarily had as much time to devote to in the past couple of years has really been work around ROI, both from our trade missions and our IMAG grant programs. So we're digging a little bit deeper into that. Somebody had mentioned, I think it was Jacob, who talked about looking at surveys and how it's tough to see what a company is going to do within a year of a grant or within a year maybe of going on a trade mission. And that's one of the things that we're looking at focusing on, as well as kind of do we need to adjust our surveying to a later date? How do we track this a little bit better? So she'll be working on that as well, and hopefully you'll have a chance to meet her in the near future. So that's what I have. I'm sorry to keep you all here, but look forward to continuing the partnership with DATCAP this coming year, and happy to answer any questions or talk if anybody wants to connect.
Thank you, Aaron. And we'll say the extra time is because of technical difficulties. So no worries, but thank you everyone for sticking around. We do have the next council meeting is slated for September 10th. I believe that is a Wednesday, and it will have a virtual and an in-office option. And we can go to you, Representative Brown.
Yeah, I have a question about emerging crops. So I saw that the majority of our experts are meat and dairy, and then 27% is crop. And really the reason why this comes up is I heard on the radio this morning there was a farmer trying to get flax and linen to grow in Wisconsin. And I'm curious how much work we do with non-food work.
I can start and maybe Jacob can finish, or Julie or Jane, but our team specifically is working for ag commodities. So anything that kind of falls within the dairy, meat, and crop sector. So basically what our team can't really do a whole lot on would just be like technology based stuff. So if it falls into one of those categories, we would be able to help. So like wood, for example, is a product that we're able to assist with, but you wouldn't necessarily view that as food. But that's why we also partner with WEDC, because where we're not able to help, they're able to help us or pick up that portion of the export assistance. So I think that answers your question. Otherwise, Jacob or someone chime in.
Yeah, that definitely leads me the right direction, but go ahead.
I can add to it a little bit. So our focus is on the export side, right? So getting the product out of Wisconsin. So like a flax seed, for instance, if it's an export type product, made in Wisconsin, we could easily help them, bring them to the right market. And it's a business that or organization we'd love to talk to. You know, where do they want to go? What are they seeing out there? Because food is a wide variety of categories, right? And we know we're not hitting every sector, and that's where it's great to hear and even gain input from the WAXC committee of something that maybe we should be looking at or emphasizing. If we're on the animal feed side, yeah, we're looking at expanding the animal feed and livestock sector this next year. We're planning a potential doing the ILDEX show in Vietnam. There's an ILDEX show the next year in Indonesia. There's the VIV Europe that'll be, I believe, in June of 2026 in Utrecht, Netherlands, that we'll do. So that's on the feed side. So if that's the market segment they're going for, we can easily work on that. If they're trying to target flaxseed for human food or human ingredient, that's another area that we can talk about. We briefly started looking at doing some of those types of shows. One of them is in Mexico. I don't have the dates in my head that we've explored as well. But yeah, feel free to get us in contact with those individuals, and we'd love to see where they want to go. We want new businesses.
Representative, I would just also add on the WEDC side. So obviously they can, if it's food and ag related, I will generally always want to loop in the DATCAP team. That we certainly have our market development directors on WEDC side as well, and we contract with trade representatives that are really boots on the ground in international markets. They cover 116 countries and territories around the world. So oftentimes we will lean into them if companies are having questions or problems around figuring out how to export to a particular market as well. So that's some of the resources that we can bring to the table for that.
And I have another unrelated question. Are we going to be able to do, I don't know, maybe some tours or, for lack of a better word, field trips? I mean, for the Dairy Expo, it seems like that would be really convenient for some of us to be able to kind of check out what's going on in Wisconsin.
Yeah, our team works with a bunch of, well, I'll say a bunch, to me it's a bunch, but we work with delegation groups that are coming in. So I don't think we've ever had anyone reach out before to be a part of those groups, but we're welcome to share some of those opportunities if anybody would be interested. We wouldn't be able to open up to everyone, but definitely some of the folks on the committee, we would be able to kind of share what those itineraries are. And if something works with your schedule, we'd be happy to include you so you could see more of what the team does and interact with some of the folks that are interested in Wisconsin products.
That'd be
And
great.
I'll say with that one, I'll also share all of the resources that were shared in today's meeting in a follow-up email. So including the links that were shared in the chat from Aaron and myself, just so you all have them, the food export PowerPoint, and I'll send a PDF of our PowerPoint as well. But we can't officially close the meeting because we do not have a chair in attendance anymore. So we will unofficially close the meeting at 10:41. But I don't think that we can technically do like a motion to close the meeting. I don't think. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate your time and appreciation. So thank you, Aaron. He's the one who tells us when we're doing things correctly. So appreciate you all being here. And again, enjoy the rest of your day and stay cool. It's going to be a hot one these next couple of days in Wisconsin.
Thank you.